see you guys in the dark.
This story happened back in October of 2004. Back when I was still a third-year high school student, my friend and I stuck around the school. Late at night, after our annual Halloween party, we agreed to try out my friend's Ouija board. It wasn't the brightest idea, but we needed a thrill. We found a nice spot under a huge gnarrow tree and proceeded with our half-assed ritual. There was 5 of us, 2 boys and 3 girls. We were all expecting some kind of paranormal contact. Rumors had it that our school was haunted, but we've never really experienced anything firsthand, and it was Halloween when all the spirits came out to play. We all wanted to get spooked. Also, we've never seen a Ouija board firsthand before, so we were pretty excited. Our school was an old Spanish colonial house, built in the 1800s when the Spaniards still occupied the Philippines. We were in a section of the school that doesn't get used often, located beside a creepy old Jesuit house. People only go there when they needed to use the restroom, store equipment on one of the sheds, or make out with their boyfriend or their girlfriends. We sat down in the middle of an open space, with only an exposed bare bulb nearby illuminating the surroundings. We were all having a laugh, scaring each other with what-if scenarios. It was your typical dumb kids doing dumb things. My friend who brought the board proceeded to place it in the middle of our circle. If I remember correctly, it was the glow-in-the-dark version, which we found hilarious, but it gave us the ability to see what was written in the dark. Not knowing what to do, and going after what we've seen in movies, we all proceeded to place our index finger on top of the planchette. We sat there looking at each other until one of us said, "What's next?" We didn't know if there was a proper way to start the ritual, plus the board didn't come with any instructions, so we decided to just throw in a question. "Is anyone there?" I called out into the darkness. "If there are spirits living here, please talk to us." One of the girls joined in. We clearly had no idea what we were doing. Still, there was nothing. Not even the slightest bit of wind. One of my friends jerked the planchette, and a girl who brought the Ouija board screamed, breaking the silence. We all laughed at how ridiculous it was. After a bit of joking around, we decided to give it another go. We all placed our index fingers on the planchette once more and asked if there's anyone there. We would like to make contact. "Don't break the circle," one of my friends jokingly said. "Shut up," I whispered. We were just about ready to give up when the wind started to pick up. The stillness broke, and the darkness around us seemed to move. Just a coincidence, we thought. "Okay, don't break the circle," I yelled out. "Is anyone there?" I was so excited. It was like a scene from a movie with dirt and dead leaves swirling around us. "Guys, I'm scared," my friend sitting beside me said. "My mom warned me about playing with forces that we don't know about. Did you die here? Were you killed during the war? Are you the headless priest that roams these halls? Do you know Jose Rizal, who is our national hero? Are you a hottie?" My friend giggled. At this point, we are throwing random questions around. Nothing. "This is bullshit. I don't want to do this anymore," my friend said. We were all thinking the same thing. Just then, a group of dogs from the neighboring house started barking at us through the chain-link fence. These 6 dogs were growling and showing their teeth. We all screamed, and without finishing the ritual, bolted right out of there. We didn't see each other until after Halloween break, and this is where the story gets pretty creepy. One of the girls told us about a weird experience she had the night after playing with the Ouija board. She had gotten home late, after hanging out with her friends from the neighborhood, when she realized that she forgot the keys to her house. So she called her brother up, who was then still sharing a room with her. And what he said creeped the hell out of her. He swore she was already home. He claimed to have seen her walk in a while ago, and that she looked really tired and saw her head straight to bed. Creepy, but no need to freak ourselves out. That was all we thought of. Besides, her brother must have just been tired and seeing things. But then my other friend started telling us about an encounter that she had that Halloween night. She was going up to her room when the lights started flickering as she was ascending the staircase. Your typical horror movie visuals. Shrug it off to faulty wiring. But just then, she saw the door to her room open, and a dark figure stepped out and stood atop of their staircase. She couldn't make out the entity's face, but she recounted that she couldn't move and felt utter dread as the figure stared down at her. "No way," my best friend, who just joined in the conversation, said in disbelief. "Something happened to me as well." He recalled that he was sleeping one night when he woke up feeling really uncomfortable. He described his vision as having TV-like static and a feeling of heaviness surrounding him. He looked around the room, and that's when he saw a bloody, charred face with piercing red eyes grinning at him through the window. I couldn't believe what I was hearing because I had an almost run-in with death that night. After the ritual, I was sleeping in our sedan on the way home from fooling around with the Ouija board when I felt our car jerk. I woke up instantly, looking out the window. I found out that we'd been hit by a huge oil tanker. I panicked and leapt out of the car. Luckily, my mom and I survived the crash since the front of the car was a total wreck. I still don't have an explanation to why those things happened to us, but thank God nothing has happened after that. I never played or gotten near a Ouija board ever again. The story happened when I was 17 years old, but before I go on and explain the story, I'd like to give a bit of a backstory to this story. So I started believing in the paranormal when I was about 11 years old. My aunt lived in this weird house where we would just sense that someone or something was in the house with you, especially in the basement. As I gradually got older, I always seemed to have experiences wherever I went. I honestly don't know if spirits are attracted to me, or that the spirits may have adopted my aunt, unleashed while playing with the Ouija board, likes to follow me around and taunt me. Either way, no matter where I went, I always seemed to have paranormal experiences. This story is really creepy. A few years after my parents had separated, we moved to a suburban town in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. It was just my mom, my younger brother, and I. We moved into a town home with a 3-bedroom, 2 bathrooms, and an unfinished basement. My mother and younger brother had moved in before I did, since we weren't all living together before moving into the townhome, and she painted the living room walls brown, and the lights in the main bathroom upstairs gave off this orange kind of color. My brother had a room at the end of the hallway, which was pretty small. I had the room right beside the bathroom, and my mom had the room besides my brother's room. My room in particular was the creepiest when I first moved in. I would walk into the room, and while it just felt heavy and not so welcoming, I had a couple of experiences before this. My door would slowly close on its own, and my brother and his friends, and I getting particularly possessed by something. But those are different stories for another time. This story in particular is the story that I would like to talk to you guys about, because there's just no explanation as to why it has happened. Maybe besides that I couldn't hallucinate at all. But once you hear the story, you too will agree that there's no explanation to it all. So like I said, I was 17 when this happened. It was late at night, and I was sleeping in my room. My brother was also asleep in his room, and my mother was the only one up watching TV downstairs with our 9-year-old purebred husky named Dakota. I got woken up by this presence of a dog, and a light growling noise coming from the area where I would feel the presence. Thinking it was just our dog, I waved my hand in the air and said, "Not now, Dakota, not now." I could still hear the light growling, so in an annoyed voice, I lifted my head up and looked towards the area that I felt the presence in, and yelled, "Dakota, not now," only to find that he wasn't there. I looked to my door, and I saw that it was closed. In confusion, I thought nothing of it other than I was hallucinating, and fell back asleep. Minutes later, I got woken up by the same growling noise, but a bit louder this time. Again, I waved my hand in the air and said, "Not now, Dakota," and again kept on growling, and I yelled, "Not now," only to find him not there. I looked at my door in confusion once again, still not thinking anything other than me just hallucinating again. I then fell back asleep. I then got woken up by this loud bark that filled the room. I sat up straight in my bed. I looked around in confusion, not knowing where the hell it came from. Feeling kind of creeped out and scared, I got up from my bed and ran downstairs to see our dog beside my mom on the ground, and my mom just watching TV. Even though I knew he couldn't have been in my room, there was another part of me that thought that my mind was playing tricks on me. So I asked her, "Hey Mom, was Dakota in my room just now?" She looked over at me in confusion. "No, he was down here the whole time." I felt really creeped out and confused, and I really didn't want to go back up to my room at this point. But I went back up to bed, and it didn't take me long before I fell asleep, because after I heard the loud bark that filled the room, I felt like a weight was holding the room down, was lifted, and it felt a lot lighter in there. A few years later, while hanging in the same room this incident happened in, I told my younger cousin that lived in that weird house about the creepy and strange night. She told me that it couldn't have been our great-grandfather. I looked at her in confusion and asked her how could this be. She told me that during the time that she had Alzheimer's disease before her death a year before the incident, she would make little barking noises, and I would look at her funny and asked why she would do that. She told me that she didn't know, that it was something that she just would do. Well, Grandma, if that was you that scared whatever the hell it was in my room, I thank you very much, and I miss you. If it wasn't, well, I'm glad that I got the fuck out of there when I did, because I don't know how long I would have been able to handle a haunted townhome. A couple of years ago, I went to a rehab in Southern California for alcohol and Xanax addiction. My family and friends were beginning to worry about me a lot, so if anything, I did it more for them than for me. Being there for almost 4 months, we all got pretty close. However, disaster did strike, and my roommate decided to hit the needle once again. Needless to say, that was the last time that he ever would, as he overdosed in his apartment, collapsed in his closet with a needle still in his arm. This is where some friends and I found him, motionless. We called 911 immediately, but it was unfortunately too late. A few weeks passed, and we are still living in the same apartment that he passed away in. Being newly sober, and not really knowing what sober people do with their lives all day, we do a bunch of random shit to keep our minds of our old habit. This night, we decided to use a Ouija board. We all sat in the living room and began. We said the prayer, put our hands on the planchette, and started asking routine questions, and got nothing. About to quit, someone had the brilliant idea of going into our friend's room that passed away. Sitting in that room, we pulled everything out again, redid the procedure, and asked for, let's call him Brad. We asked Brad, "Are you still with us?" Amazingly, the planchette went to yes. Both a little freaked out and a little excited, we continued. We asked simple things like if he was okay. All was okay until we asked Brad why he did it. The planchette went to BADGNE. We thought about this for a while and asked, "Brad gone?" Planchette rapidly went to yes. "Who is this?" we asked. There was nothing. Angry, I screamed, "Who the fuck is this?" It started moving like I've never seen it move before. Z-O, 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 over and over again. I had no clue what the fuck this was, but I turned to my friend, and his face was white. When the planchette finally came to a rest, I asked my friend what was wrong. He stammered, "We need to quit now. We need to stop this." Being a huge tough guy, it was strange to me that he was so scared. "Stop being a pussy," I said jokingly. "That's Zozo, a Ouija board demon. He pretends to be a friend or a family member, then finally reveals himself." I took this in and kind of chuckled to myself. "Oh, really?" That friend took off and went back to his apartment while 2 of us stayed, taunting the demon and cussing him out. We finally asked what he wanted, and the planchette shot straight at me. Terrified, I asked, "What do you want with me?" It took off in the direction of hell. Respectively, I stated, "You want me in hell?" It shot to yes. "Are you going to kill me?" The planchette stayed at yes. Getting a little freaked out now, I asked, "How are you going to kill me?" F-I-R, and the planchette shot towards one of our candles, knocking it onto the floor, starting a small fire on the carpet. We quickly put it out, and as we were doing so, looked at the last letter, and the planchette landed on E. Fire. Looking at this, we said goodbye to the Ouija board Burned that board the same night. I refused to sleep in that apartment after that night. Broke my sobriety soon after. Going back to my home. So, Zozo, I really don't want to ever talk to you again. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.